The UFC returns to one of the best atmospheres across all of combat sports, the O2 Arena in London, where we will get to see some of the best English and European talent from across the world compete on UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura. One of those talents, undefeated featherweight Lerone Murphy, looks to put on a showcase performance to get himself consideration for being one of the top featherweights in the world and maybe a top 15 ranking not so far after. Let's have a look into the miracles, highlights, wins, and adversity to see if maybe his record's been padded or if the undefeated prospect is as good as his record shows. Lerone Murphy has always fought in the stand-up with a lot of swagger. On the feet, he can compete with almost anyone across any division in the UFC. His weakness has always been his ability to be taken down. He's conceded 16 takedowns in his short 5-fight UFC career and has a subpar 43% takedown defense. However, opponents really don't want prolonged stand-up affairs with this guy because Lerone Murphy is such a dominant striker and so successful with his combinations, powerful low kicks, and when he puts it all together, he is a dominant and beautiful striker to watch. Skipping back to 2016 for this video, Full Contact Contender scooped up the undefeated amateur to take on Martin Fuda in their 15th event. When you look back on FCC 15, it would end up having some massive faces there, with Brandon Loughnane, who was a PFL champion, Tom Aspinall, the main eventer for this UFC Fight Night. Murphy would continue his winning ways from the amateur scene to win his pro debut via unanimous decision. He'd win his next contest, but his next contest out for FCC would be against Jamie Lee, and we'd already see opponents trying to get Lerone Murphy to the mat. Lee shot twice in the first round, landing a takedown, but was incapable of holding his Murphy down for very long. When Murphy got the fight back to where he wanted it, back up on the feet, we saw the boxing again, heavy low kicks, and Murphy would put it all together in a combination to get Jamie Lee out of there in the first round. Murphy would go on to finish Nathan Thompson in his next fight via TKO, and I cannot lie to you, this was one of the more hilarious fights I've ever seen. I recommend you go watch this if you can find footage of it. Nathan was a 7-39 mixed martial artist, and Murphy landed a body shot while Nathan was on the ground, and Nathan kind of just tapped out where it didn't look like a very brutal strike. The announcers tried to play it off, but you saw even Murphy was visually displeased with whatever the fight was, reeling off another first round KO against a much more impressive Terry Doyle, and back-to-back unanimous decisions against Jamie McLaren and Anton De Pepe. He would line up himself a featherweight vacant title shot on FCC. He did have a brief hiatus from FCC, but again, returning to fight for the vacant featherweight title, he would fight Italian Manolo Ciana. Manolo came out game, getting his own combinations in and keeping the fight even on the feet. We saw some new tactics from Murphy in this fight that we had not seen it in the regional scene before, landing a strike and following it up with actually a takedown here. Murphy would land a right hand later on in the round, wrap Manolo up, and land a trip to get the fight to the feet. Then, grabbing Manolo's back wrist and pulling it behind him, he was able to get the ground and pound finish in the first round. Now, already 8-0 with only 2 years of professional experience, he would be brought to the UFC for a pay-per-view on UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi, and he would take on a killer in Zubaira Tukhugov. The odds opened in late August for the contest, and Zubaira was the -565 favorite, more than a 5-1 favorite. He opened as the biggest favorite on the card, in a card that featured Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev. The fight opened with the most significant amount of adversity. At 3:38 of the round, landed a beautifully untelegraphed shot, but Murphy showed his game, trying to get a guillotine choke twice. While Zubaira might have had control throughout the round, Murphy was dangerous and earned the round on all three judges' scorecards. The round got back to its feet briefly again, and a couple combinations of kicks and strikes were all Murphy in this round. In my mind, by the time we got to the third round, this was going to be the decider. It had less Tukhugov the control time in the third round, but Murphy, again like the second, landed 19 more significant strikes and took the striking edge. The fight was razor close, and the UFC judges announced a split decision draw. Murphy, the +400 side, earned his next opportunity in the UFC, coming in as that massive underdog and proving he belonged. He was set as an underdog again in his next fight against Ricardo Ramos. Murphy was able to get betters in the spot, but it would not happen again. Murphy has not opened or closed as an underdog since that fight in July of 2020. Murphy took 2 more fights in 2021, a decision against Douglas Silva d'Andrade, and then a knockout of veteran Makwan Amirkhani. Amirkhani controlled the top position for the entire first round and looked to repeat the same thing in the second, but Murphy landed a massive knee on Makwan's first entry of the round and put Amir Khani to sleep. In Murphy's most recent fight, he took on Gabriel Santos in another razor-close fight, with judges not agreeing on a winner, leading to a split decision victory. The opening round started quickly with both men attacking on the feet. In a very competitive first round, Santos looked a little more impressive, landing the harder shots and mixing in takedowns pretty effectively. Then Murphy got off to a strong start in round number 2, and he began again, like his previous fights, to land more frequently in the second round. The third round, again, the fresher fighter Murphy, whose cardio I haven't spoken on, but is very, very good, came out again, fresher fighter, effectively defending against any grappling Santos was throwing at him. Murphy would end up taking home the split decision victory, but the 93 significant strikes of a total 161 strikes led Lerone Murphy to get the nod compared to Gabriel Santos's 69 significant strikes of 122 total. With MMA media determining on almost a landslide that Santos should have been the rightful victor here, it all came down to round number 2. The judges were split. 2 gave it to Murphy, 1 gave it to Santos. Murphy is coming in to Saturday night still undefeated and one of the premier featherweights in the UFC. We're going to see how he does, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, remember to smash that like button and subscribe to Combat Sports Central, and I will see you in the next one.